Hi, I'm Sean Neal. I'm the core developer of Dynamo Coin and the principal architect of Mythic Raiders, which is a upcoming play-to-earn crypto game using several assets that are available from the Mixamo website that's produced by Adobe. Today, I want to show you some of the workflows that I use for downloading the models and animations and getting them all into the Unreal Engine Mannequin format. I know that, of course, you can use retargeting to do this, but when you are creating many models with many different animations and you want to be able to easily manage all of those animations with a single animation instance, it's really super helpful to have those animations and characters all in the same format. In this case, the mannequin format, because other than having it all as mannequin, you can use some of the other third-party free animations that might be available on the marketplace and so on. So this workflow uses several different tools, which are listed here. I'm using Blender 3.2, although 2.4 or anything and up will work. I'm using a tool called Auto Rig Pro, which is available on the Blender marketplace for, I think, about $40. I'm using Voxel Heat Diffuse Skinning tool, again on the Blender marketplace, I think $25 or $30. I'm using an Unreal Engine animation translator that's produced by this website, Terribilis Studio. I'm using obviously Mixamo for the models and the animations, and then I'm using Unreal Engine 4.27. Just a note that this workflow will work with any skeleton, I'm sorry, any model. It doesn't have to be a model from Mixamo. So I've used this procedure with models from many of the different marketplace assets that are available as well. And I think it's important to note, obviously, as an indie developer where you have just a couple of people working on this, we all need these kind of shortcuts. And so, we don't have the luxury of creating all of our own custom models and animations. So this gives you a pretty quick and easy workflow to create some neat looking stuff. So there's two parts to this. The first part is I'm going to create a mannequin compatible model with the skeleton exactly to the mannequin. I'm going to use Auto Rig Pro and the Voxel Heat Diffuse Skinning to do that. And then I'm going to create a mannequin compatible animation, and I'm going to use the Terribilis Studio tool to do that. I'll just download an animation and convert it and then match it to the model that I just created. And the end result will be that we'll get a mannequin compatible model with a mannequin compatible animation that can be used with any other mannequin compatible model animation. So you won't have this stuff about retargeting and then ending up with copies of the skeletons and copies of the animations and so on. You can use all the standard single mannequin skeleton and single mannequin animations. All right, so let's get to it. I'm going to first create a new Unreal Engine project. And it's important to pick the third person. If you don't pick third person, you're not going to get the mannequin skeleton. So you need to pick third person. You can, of course, create a blank one and then add the third person template later as well. If you want to use one of the other templates and then add third person, that's fine. All right, and we'll just go. I'm going to stick with blueprints for now. All the rest of these are the same. So we're going to go ahead and create the project. Okay, so that's it for Unreal Engine. Let's get rid of SteamVR. All right, so now we're going to go over to the Mixamo website. And I've already logged in, so it didn't ask me, but normally it'll ask you to log in. I'm going to pick a character. We can use this knight character. And I'm going to go ahead and download that. T-pose, binary, good. And so we're going to get an FBX file. And that FBX file, because these are already rigged, is going to come with a skeleton in it. So over in Blender, I've already deleted the standard stuff, so my collection is empty here. I'm going to import an FBX file that I just downloaded. Okay. And we'll go get that FBX. And you're going to see our person here. That's fine. Just a note, I have already installed the 2 plugins. The links will be in the description, but if you want to know how to do that, obviously both of these tools are very well documented, but essentially you'll go to Preferences and Add-ons, and then you'll add these 2 things that are the Auto Rig Pro and the Voxel Diffuse Skin. So those are the 2 things that you need. All right, so we have our person here, and we have the armature that's in there. What we really only want is just a model, so I'm going to delete the armature. And then that's going to do some crazy stuff to the model because the armature has some built-in scaling. So we want to make this model be more appropriate size. Right now it's 165 meters. This is obviously rotated, so we're going to rotate this around the x-axis 90 degrees so that she's standing up. And then being that she's 165 meters tall, I'm going to scale her down by 1% uniformly. And that would make her, oops, sorry. That'll make her 1.65 meters tall, which feels like it's a little bit better. All right, so now that I've done some translations, I'm just going to apply the translation. So I go to Object, Transform, Object, Apply, and All Transforms. So that will remove this scale and rotation. So now everything is ones and zeros here, which is what we want. All right, so here is our model. Now, one of the things you're going to notice is that the Auto Rig Pro has some difficulty sometimes with fingers, particularly when the fingers have gloves on them, which I picked this character specifically because it does have gloves on it. And so you'll see there may be some parts of it that are messed up, and we'll go ahead and clean those up once that happens. So when you have a mesh selected, there are 2 additional tabs here, the Auto Rig Pro and the Mesh Online. The Auto Rig Pro is the thing that creates the skeleton, and the Mesh is the thing that actually does the vertex mapping. So we'll go to Auto Rig Pro first, and I'm going to go to the Smart, which it is pretty smart. Click Get Selected Objects. I'm going to do Full Body. Okay. And then you're going to see these buttons here. So Add Neck, and when you click Add Neck, it's going to come up with this little dot. You place that on the neck. Add Chin. I'm going to do that. Shoulders. Somewhere about here. Wrists. Some of these models are more sensitive than others, and so you kind of have to play around with the locations. But that's there. So then you have to pay attention to the fingers. I'm going to find 5 fingers. Not all models have 5 fingers. And then this precision and voxel type, you can play around with these values. Generally speaking, these defaults seem to work for most of the Mixamo assets. They don't work as well for some of the other things like the Cinti ones because there's only 3 fingers and it's kind of fat. So you have to maybe play around with this a little bit. The rest of it you can leave the same. You can also do a facial setup if you want to have eyebrows and all kinds of other things. Sometimes it'll distort the head a little bit if you don't do the facial setup. I'm going to skip that here because this is not really a tutorial about getting the armature exactly correct. So once that's all done, we can hit go. And this is going to create some reference bones. And so there you go. Now we're going to just zoom in a little bit on the fingers because sure enough, it did end up screwing up the fingers a little bit. Now the cool thing is that this tool does mirror all bones, so all you need to do is fix one hand and the other hand will be fixed for you. I'm going to go ahead and try to fix a couple of these things here. Looks like this is the thumb. I'm not going to do a perfect job because, again, this is not so much about rigging, but generally speaking, you're going to want to look at this from a number of different angles and get the bones to be in the middle of the model as much as you can. Looks like it also crossed up the pinky fingers here, so we can kind of move these around. All right, so normally I'd spend a lot more time fixing this up, but I don't really care for the purpose of this demonstration. So the rest of the bones look pretty good. You can see it mirrored what I did on this side as well. It's not perfect, but it's acceptable. Once you have this all set, you click on Match to Rig, and that will create our bones. Now you can go into the Mesh tool, and I use the Voxel Heat Diffuse Skinning. Most of the time, all of these defaults will just work straight out of the box for you. So you can click on that. You have to select both the armature and the model. So we'll go into object mode. I hit A to select everything, and then I'm going to go into the diffuse skinning. It'll give a little Z-slice progress down here. It's pretty quick and really fairly accurate. Okay, and so then once that's done, you can go back into pose mode and maybe grab one of the bones and kind of drag it around, and you can see that it has done a pretty good job of mapping this stuff. So there's a little bit of mess in there. You can individually clean up vertices after this is done, obviously. Again, for this purpose, I'll just let it be. So now back to the Auto Rig Pro. Okay, so now we can go ahead and export this using the Auto Rig Pro export function. So we'll go to Export FBX. We'll pick Unreal Engine, pick Humanoid. You want to pick UE4 Legacy, rename for UE, and Mannequin Axes. Under animations, there shouldn't be any animations, but if you do, just don't bake them in. And then miscellaneous, you can leave all of that as it is. I'm going to dump this over into my downloads. We'll call this person.fbx. Okay. And so that's done. So now we are going to pull that into our project in Unreal Engine. So I'm going to create a folder called person, and then I'm going to grab this FBX that I exported, drop that in there. Now the key here is to pick the mannequin skeleton, so that way you are not creating a new one. It's all based on the mannequin. You'll notice that the texture doesn't come through correctly because it doesn't know in Blender, it doesn't preserve it. So in order to get the material to work, we need to just create like a temp folder, and we'll import the old model into it, the one that was not rigged for the mannequin. So this is the original one that I downloaded from the Mixamo website. This, you don't care about the skeleton. It's just going to make its own skeleton, but we're just going to throw that away. We just want to get this for the original material. And so now you see we have the nice material here, diffuse, specular, and the M1 material. We'll toss these out in a moment. So you can open this skeletal mesh, and then in lieu of this one, we'll put the new one. Okay, so there's our properly skinned and textured mesh. We can then go delete this M1. The reason we'll need to delete this is because the names are the same. So we'll just get rid of that. And then we'll grab our 3 textures and the material, promote that up to here. And then we can get rid of this model entirely. Okay. So now we have a nicely textured model. The key thing here that's very interesting is that because this is mapped to the mannequin, we can go straight to the third-person character blueprint and swap out that texture. So this mesh, because it's mannequin compatible, is going to be in my list of things that I can do. And it will immediately work right out of the box. So there it is. And you can see that facial stretching that happened that I mentioned before. So to get that, you do the full facial rig instead. You can follow the tutorials, but essentially this will work directly with all of the third-person animations and blueprints. Right? Now, what we want to do is get an animation from Mixamo into here. So we're going to use the other tool again. So we'll go back to Mixamo. I'm going to find an animation. Let's do some kind of complex dance. All right, so we'll pick chicken dance. Now, obviously, chicken dance on this character works, but remember that this is not the skeleton that is the mannequin skeleton because we already converted it. So in order to make this work, you need to upload the format that this Mixamo converter website gives you. When you go to the Terabilis Studios, there's going to be a zip file. You unzip that. You can really put it anywhere. I've just put it on my desktop, and you're going to get these folders. And so they give you a reference mannequin to use to export these animations from Mixamo. So I'm going to take this and dump it here. It's going to upload it. It's going to essentially look like the mannequin. That's good. Okay. We're going to use that guy. And now we have that animation mapped to the mannequin. So we're going to download that. You can download it without the skin. It doesn't really matter. Download with or without. But anyway, I'm going to download. Okay, and so then that's given me this chicken dance FBX. In the converter folder, there's an incoming FBX, so you put your files in there. That's the one that I want to convert. Okay, so now we're going to run this program. It has a little bit of a strange interface to it. The UI is not the best. So you just click through these first 2 screens. It takes you through a sort of tutorial, but essentially it's telling you to, go to Mixamo, upload this skeleton, and then put it into the folder. To do the actual conversion, you just have to click on this step 2, and then click on this sort of spastic conversion thing that they have. Once you've done that, it will be in the outgoing FBX file when you see that little green thing. So there's a converted Mannequin compatible version of the input folder. They do give you some import advice as well, so you need to use these settings when you do that, and I'll go ahead and do that in a moment. But anyway, it's a little bit strange of an interface, and there's no like X button or anything, so you have to just hit exit to get out of it. So, yeah. All right, so we're going to go ahead and import our folder. Okay, so most important thing is make sure you grab that Mannequin skeleton as the version. Most of the things that they say to check will already be checked, or they always are already checked in my case. So it should just work by selecting the Mannequin skeleton and doing an import. So now that's done, we can go ahead and preview the animation. It's looking pretty good on the default skeleton. What we can do to sort of wrap all this together, just to show you that this all definitely does work, is I'll update the mesh, right? So the mesh is now the person, and we will, instead of having an animation blueprint, I'll just use an animation asset, and the animation asset will use the chicken dance, and we can see that it actually works. And if we go ahead and play, we'll see that that's actually working inside the game as well. So using this technique, you can essentially use any character with any animation that's available on Mixamo, all modeled to the Mannequin, so that you can have a single blueprint instead of having to doing any retargeting and copying of animations and all those other things. Any skeleton that you rig in this manner will be able to use all the animations that are downloaded from Mixamo. All right, hope you enjoyed this, and if you have any questions, please post in the comments. Thanks.